Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? No. Louder? Okay. Not a loudspeaker, but I will do my best. So, it was the day before Thanksgiving, fall 2011, and I was sitting in my journalism class with a guitar on my lap. You can probably gather from that image alone that this wasn't an ordinary journalism class, and this wasn't an ordinary school. I went to Polaris K-12 school, which is an alternative school in the Anchorage School District. Polaris emphasizes self-directed learning, and one of the ways that they do that is through student-led classes. So student-led classes are organized and run by students with the guidance of a faculty advisor. Display was the school newspaper at Polaris K-12, and I had the privilege of being the student leader of the journalism class and editor-in-chief of the paper for 3 years during high school. So senior year came around, fall 2011, the week of Thanksgiving break, and I knew that we were going to be finishing up an issue of the Display that week, and that we would have time to do something kind of fun and creative together as a class. So I warned everyone that we'd be writing a song together. So they showed up ready to write on Wednesday, and many of them brought instruments, which was awesome. And I brought my guitar. So the way it worked initially was that each student came up with a line for the song, and then I would sing it back to them. So it went something like this. The first student said, "When the flood of ink came," and I sang, "When the flood of ink came." And the next student said, "And Tuesday turned to Western Wednesday," and I sang, "And Tuesday turned to Western Wednesday." And the dum-dum rappers all tumbled away. And the dum-dum rappers all tumbled away. Rat's tails, we all say. Rat's tails, we all say. Okay, at this point, you're probably trying to tell me that that wasn't a song. It was nonsense because you didn't understand much of it. And you would be partially correct. Most of this song is nonsense. And the reason it's nonsense is because nearly every line of the song is an inside joke, and many of those inside jokes came from moments of collaboration that may or may not have had anything to do with journalism. So if you take the second line in the song referencing Western Wednesdays were started by a group of students who decided that every Wednesday we would have Wild West names. And most students went around speaking in a Wild West accent. And then you take that line, "When the dum-dum rappers all tumbled away." This particular semester of Display, we all collectively had this ridiculous obsession with dum-dum lollipops. We ate a lot of them, of course, but the obsession was ingrained so deep in us that we bought merchandise from the Dum Dum merchandise store. I can assure you that you probably do not know anyone else who has bought merchandise from the Dum Dum merchandise store. Everything you buy takes 20 wrappers that you have to send in. We had enough collectively. So together, we harbored this obsession. We took many votes to decide what we were going to buy. In the end, we ended up buying what was called a Dum Dum's Drum Man. And we decided who was going to be in charge of the money, who was going to order it. And the day that this Dum Dum's man, came in the mail, we each grabbed a hold of the plastic that contained him, and we all helped to open him together. That's how excited we were. So that's to give you an idea of where this song is coming from. And with that in mind, I'm going to sing the second verse to you, which is equally ridiculous. When Abe's conquest schemes finally worked, and pinatas ruled the day, and haikus filled the display. Rats' tails, we all say. And at this point, the class decided that to make rats' tails effectively serve as a chorus, the group was going to chant 3 times in unison rats' tails. So it sounded something like this. Rats' tails, we all say. Rats' tails, rats' tails, rats' tails. So we have 2 verses. We have something that is effectively standing as a chorus, and with that we moved on to the bridge. And we had 1 line for the bridge, which was a monotone voice from above. And I was kind of flustered on ways to sing the bridge, and people were throwing out ideas. We were trying different things. And my best friend, Nicole, she's very smart, but she doesn't talk a lot. But because she doesn't talk a lot, when she throws out an idea, people listen. So when she told us that really the bridge needed to be sung in the style of Bob Dylan and a hard rains are going to fall, we let her run with that. So the bridge was sung by Nicole. We wrote 2 more lines collectively, and I'm going to attempt to recreate that magic, but just know that my heart does not contain the spirit of Bob Dylan that hers does. But the melody went something like this. A monotone voice from above, a hard rainfall. The dum-dum strum man punches a waterfall. And Nicole broke into the most incredible harmonica solo, also in the style of Bob Dylan. So everyone else also brought out their instruments at this point. We had people on keyboard, on tambourines, on egg shakers. Some people decided to hum along while I sang, which was great. We had 1 student enter the entire song with a trumpet solo. So at the end of this class period, we had a complete song that was all our own, that we had created together. So think on that for a second. So once again, that's great, Lauren, that you wrote a song, but how did that benefit you? How did that benefit your group? And how did that benefit your mission of creating good journalism? There are 2 pieces of information that I have left out. The first is that this particular semester of Display, we produced 1 6-page newsletter nearly every week. The second piece of information is that there were 8 of us, which is incredible, and here's why. The process for creating 1 6-page issue of Display goes something like this. You have to fill 6 pages with writing, or photos, or filler, or advertisements. And any writing that is created goes through extensive editing. All of that material then spends a couple days on layout. After layout, the final edition goes through several more rounds of editing. As per Anchor School District guidelines, it goes through administrative approval. And then we print the copies. And in Display's case, we were using the same copier that the entire building was using. So if someone else was using the copier at the time that we needed to print our newspapers, we were sometimes out of luck. But in the event that we did get them printed on time correctly, we then had to deliver them to the students. And that process most of the time started up again the next week. So these are 8 students who are incredibly dedicated to the mission, even though they don't have 40 hours a week to dedicate to it. They aren't getting paid for their work, and they have plenty of other things going on, right? They have school and extracurriculars and families and all sorts of things that could separate their attention. I truly believe that the reason we were so successful that semester in particular was because we were united, because we collaborated on things like Western Wednesdays and our obsession with Dum Dum Lollipops, and writing a song together, filming a documentary about ourselves, which we also did, making podcasts for Halloween, which we also did. And so we knew how to collaborate together as friends, and that collaboration transferred over really easily when it came time for our noses to hit the grindstone and to get those issues of the display out. We trusted that we were going to get our jobs done, and if one student was having a harder week, we jumped in and we helped them with their work too. So my point is that there is a point to these activities that some people deem pointless, right? Some people don't believe that their group has 5 minutes or an hour or a day to spend on something that does not directly correlate to their mission. And I think that's a shame, because we're all part of a group, whether that be in our schools, in our workplaces, in our families. We're all part of a group. And I think that if we each took the time to think about what we would do with 5 minutes or an hour or a day with that group, that would be fun and creative and collaborative and unique, I think that our groups would be happier, and that happiness would lead to better productivity, and that productivity and that happiness allows us to throw ourselves wholeheartedly into our missions. So to me, that is the point to being pointless. Thank you all so much for coming out today and for supporting TEDx.